The morning sun rose over the jagged hills of Blackridge Ranch, painting the dust and weathered timber in golden light. Leila stumbled down the winding path to the corral, her chest heaving as though she had run for hours, her palms pressed against her stomach as though trying to hold herself together. But the tremors beneath her skin were unstoppable. I can't hold it in anymore," she gasped, voice trembling, carried on the dry wind that rattled the loose boards of the barn. Her words hung in the air, both a confession and a warning. Cole Hayes, the rancher who had seen every kind of trouble Blackridge could offer, stood near the fence, his hat pulled low against the rising sun. At first, he thought she had fallen or been hurt in the night, but the look in her eyes made him freeze. There was terror there, raw and unfiltered, mixed with a desperate urgency he couldn't place. "Leila," he called, his voice steady but cautious. She didn't answer immediately, only gasping again as she pressed her back to the fence. Her hair, once neatly tied, had fallen in wild waves around her face, and dust clung to her skin. Something inside her had snapped or been awakened, and Cole could feel the weight of it before she even spoke. It's coming again," she whispered finally, voice breaking. I can't stop it. I've tried, Cole. I've tried, but it's too strong. It wants something I don't know how to give." Her hands shook violently as she reached out to the fence for support, knuckles white and trembling. Cole's stomach twisted. He had grown up with Leila, known her stubbornness, her courage, but this vulnerability terrified him. He wanted to step forward to comfort her, but something held him back. There was a line, one that he feared crossing, and yet every instinct screamed that it was too late for caution. He took a careful step closer. "Leila, whatever this is, we'll handle it, together." His voice was low but firm, the kind that usually settled storms in the corral or calmed spooked horses. But her gaze held him captive. Her fear was infectious, contagious, a silent command that left him paralyzed for a heartbeat. "Cole, you don't understand. You can't. It's inside me. It's alive," she whispered. The words sent a chill down his spine. He had seen many things in his years, storms, fires, injuries, but the raw panic in her voice carried a weight beyond the physical. Something was wrong, something deeply wrong. Before Cole could respond, a shadow flickered across the corral, fleeting and unnatural, vanishing before he could focus on it. The horses shifted uneasily, stamping hooves, tails flicking, but there was no wind, no sound. His instinct screamed at him to protect her, yet the shadow seemed tied to Leila, as if it had been released by her own trembling body. "Stay calm," he murmured, gripping the fence post, knuckles white. "Whatever this is, we face it together." She looked at him then, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Cole, it's too strong. I can feel it crawling, moving, whispering. I can't keep it inside." Her voice pitched higher with terror, echoing off the weathered walls of the barn. He could see the tremors running up her arms, the convulsive shivers racking her frame, and he realized that whatever she was fighting, it wasn't just fear, it was something alive, something ancient and unknowable, and it was breaking through her. Cole's hand hovered, wanting to reach for her, but hesitation froze him. A warning whispered from deep inside his chest, "Move too fast, and you could lose control or worse." And yet he couldn't ignore the danger, the urgency, the look in her eyes that begged him to act. "Leila, look at me," he said, voice low but commanding. She lifted her gaze, and in that moment Cole knew he could not wait any longer. The air seemed to thicken as she leaned into him, not fully, but enough for her weight to press against his chest. The touch sent a jolt through him, not of desire, but of pure primal alarm. Something was waking, something dark, and he could feel it through her trembling body. "Cole, please," she whispered, words almost lost in a choking sob. "Please, don't let it—" She couldn't finish, and the gasp that escaped her mouth was like the breaking of some fragile barrier. Then a sound came, a low guttural hiss from the shadows beyond the barn, almost imperceptible at first. Cole stiffened, eyes scanning the perimeter. The ranch was quiet, too quiet, save for the faint wind that stirred dust across the corral. But he knew better than to trust silence. Whatever had stirred inside, Leila was spilling outward. and the world beyond the fence felt suddenly hostile. He took another step, cautious, deliberate. "We can fight this," he murmured. "You're not alone." "I'll stop it." His hands hovered near her shoulders, trembling, aware that the moment he touched her fully might unleash something even he couldn't control. And then she gasped again, louder this time, and the tension snapped. Cole acted instinctively, gripping her as she leaned fully into him. The world seemed to tilt, a strange pressure pressing against his mind, shadows dancing at the edges of his vision. Layla's trembling intensified, and Cole could feel the raw, inhuman energy coursing through her. The barn seemed alive, every creaking beam, every flicker of sunlight magnified into a pulse of dread. Something had been released, something dangerous, something horrifying. Cole's hesitation evaporated. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to focus, trying to anchor both of them in reality even as the air seemed to warp around them. Lila's gasps punctuated the thick silence, each one a reminder that time was slipping away, that whatever had awakened could not be contained for long. And then she whispered, voice shaking, "Cole, it's here. It's coming out. I can't stop it." The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. Whatever he had been holding back, whatever he had hesitated over, had consequences now. Consequences he could see unfurling in the trembling lines of her body, in the shadows that seemed to writhe like living things. He had to act, and he had to act now before the darkness consumed everything. His hands moved, not thinking, only reacting, and the moment stretched, taut and fragile, hanging between them. Lila's scream pierced the air, raw and shattering, echoing across the empty ranch. The wind seemed to pause. The horses held their breath, and for a heartbeat, the world itself waited to see what Cole would do next. And in that heartbeat he knew there was no turning back. Whatever horror awaited, whatever darkness had been unleashed, it was now a part of their lives forever. The sun hung high over Blackridge Ranch, relentless and burning, but the heat could not match the tension that simmered inside the barn. Lila sat huddled against the rough planks, knees drawn to her chest, trembling. Dust clung to her sweat-soaked hair, her wide eyes staring at nothing yet seeing everything. Cole stood nearby, hands clenched, jaw tight, watching her with a mixture of fear, frustration, and something darker, something he barely understood himself. The events of the morning had shattered the fragile normalcy of their lives, and now they were standing on the edge of a chasm neither of them could see the bottom of. She whispered again, voice cracking like dry wood, "Cole, it's coming out. I can feel it. It's growing, moving inside me." Each word made him flinch. He had never felt fear like this, not for himself, but for her. Whatever was inside her, it wasn't just sickness or stress. It was alive. He could feel it pulsing in the air, pressing against his skin, twisting the shadows in the corners of the barn like something waiting to strike. He stepped closer, cautious. "Lila, whatever this is, we'll stop it. Together, you have to trust me." Her eyes widened, terror spilling from them like water over a cliff. I can't. I can't hold it. I don't know how to control it." Her hands shook violently, nails scraping against the wood. Cole noticed the fine tremors running through her arms, the way her shoulders jerked involuntarily. The energy radiating from her wasn't human, something primal, something inhuman, pulsed beneath her skin, and Cole's stomach churned at the realization. Then a sound broke the suffocating silence, a low, guttural hiss that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. Cole tensed. The horses in the corral stamped nervously. Shadows, elongated and warped, twisted unnaturally along the edges of the barn. He gripped the post nearest him, feeling the coarse wood dig into his palm. "Cole, it's hungry." Lila gasped, voice trembling. "It wants something. I can't stop it." She doubled over, shaking violently. Cole's instincts screamed. He needed to act, to stabilize her, to do something, anything, before whatever was inside her burst forth completely. He reached out slowly, hands hovering near her shoulders. "Lila, look at me. Focus on me. Whatever's happening, you're not alone. You have to fight it, even if it's hard." For a moment she did. Her eyes flickered to his, desperate and pleading. Cole's heart leapt. Maybe he could anchor her. Maybe they could contain it together. But the relief was fleeting. A sharp, unnatural noise like nails scraping metal echoed from the corner of the barn. Cole turned but saw nothing. The darkness inside Lila responded, writhing beneath her skin, pushing against the fragile walls of her body. "I can feel it moving inside me," she screamed, body convulsing violently. Shadows stretched from her limbs, thin black tendrils curling outward, snaking across the barn floor. Cole stumbled back, eyes wide, mind racing. This was no longer metaphorical. The darkness was real, alive, and it was spilling into the world around them. "Cole, help me!" Lila cried, arms flailing as the tendrils reached for him. He froze, terror and instinct warring. The shadows were not just extensions of her fear. They were aware, intelligent, almost predatory. They hissed, curling around beams and railings, destroying everything they touched. Cole could smell the ozone of something unnatural, the tang of fear and metal in the air. He took a deep breath. He had faced storms, fires, and bandits, but nothing like this. Nothing could prepare him for the raw, inhuman energy erupting from Lila, and yet he knew he couldn't hesitate. To stop this, he had to confront it directly, even if it meant crossing a line he had never imagined. He stepped toward her, hands shaking, heart hammering, and tried to anchor her with his voice. "Focus on me, Lila. Hold my eyes. You're stronger than this." For a heartbeat, it worked. The tendrils recoiled slightly, and her screams softened to gasps. But the reprieve was short-lived. The shadows surged again, faster, more violent. The air in the barn seemed to pulse with them, vibrating, bending light, warping the space. Cole stumbled backward, trying to protect her without touching the writhing darkness. Then the horror fully revealed itself. The tendrils burst outward, lashing at the walls, tearing the wood. Dust and splinters filled the air. Cole's eyes stung. He shouted over the chaos, "Lila, hold on!" She did, just barely. But the shadows weren't deterred. They hissed, pulsing with hunger. Cole realized with a jolt, whatever had been unleashed in her was not a simple illness or emotional breakdown. It was something ancient, something that had been dormant, and now it demanded release. Cole's mind raced. Bullets wouldn't stop it. Fire might only make it stronger. The darkness was feeding, growing, and then he saw it, something inside her, faint but undeniable, writhing beneath her chest like a black flame, alive and sentient. He swallowed hard. There was only one choice, terrifying and unforgivable. He had to confront the source directly. He had to touch it, channel it, or contain it, whatever it took, even if it meant exposing himself to the unknown. "Lila, I have to do this," he said, voice trembling but resolute. "You have to trust me." She froze, eyes wide with terror. What are you going to do?" Cole swallowed, feeling a chill in his bones. "I'm going to pull it out. I don't know if it will hurt or if it will try to take me with it. But if we don't do this, it will destroy everything." Her body quivered violently. I can't. I don't want to hurt you." "You won't. I won't let it. Just focus on me," he shouted, stepping closer, extending his hands. The shadows recoiled slightly at his approach, almost aware of his intent. Layla's trembling intensified, and Cole could feel the raw power of it pushing against him. Summoning every ounce of courage, he plunged his hands toward the writhing darkness within her. Pain exploded, not his, not hers, but a shared, bone-deep agony that made Cole stagger, teeth gritted. The darkness lashed out, trying to resist, trying to consume him. But he held on, mind fixed, heart pounding, refusing to yield. Slowly, agonizingly, the tendrils pulled back, drawn toward his touch, but fought by some conscious, sentient force. Leela screamed, but this time it was different. Less raw terror, more relief mixed with excruciating pain. The shadows writhed violently for a final moment, then began to recede, shrinking back into her chest, then her body, until only trembling human form remained. Cole collapsed beside her, gasping, covered in sweat and splinters, shaking uncontrollably. Lila clung to him, exhausted, eyes haunted but slowly returning to normal. The barn settled into silence. The air no longer pulsed with unnatural energy, but the weight of what had just occurred hung between them. Saved me, Lila whispered, voice barely audible. But what did it cost? Cole swallowed hard, chest heaving. He didn't answer. Some things were too horrifying to speak aloud. The darkness had been contained for now, but both of them knew that it had changed everything. Their lives, the ranch, their very sense of reality, nothing would ever be the same. The sun dipped lower, casting long, eerie shadows across the barn floor. Somewhere beyond the hills, something stirred, patient, waiting. Cole held Lila close, knowing the day was over. But the fight was far from finished. They had survived, but at a cost that neither could yet fully comprehend. And as the stars began to blink awake in the night sky, a whisper of unease carried on the wind. The darkness had receded, but it had not gone.